welcome to this edition of Time with Hime. I am joined by Superintendent Hime in our flexible studio. What do you think?
Hey, I like it. People struggle to hear us when we're mask on, and we have people who are hearing impaired, and they like to see our lips move. So we've social distanced to 6 feet, and once again, flexibility. We expect our teachers to be flexible, so we're going to be flexible.
That's right. We have rearranged our studio so we could take our mask off, and we're pretty far apart, but I kind of like it. What do you think?
I like it as well. So I'd much rather do it this way without the mask so people can see my face, and we can talk and see facial expressions.
That's right. Read your lips. So I'm so glad to have you guys with us, and we are ready to do our update. Let's talk about COVID and what we're doing to share with our community and parents the information.
On the webpage, we're going to create a space where you can go on and log on, and it'll be updated daily so you can see. We haven't finalized exactly how it is, but it'll be a generic update letting you know how many cases we have across the district. I think one thing that happens is if we have a student test positive, no matter what setting they test positive in, every now and then they take, sometimes up to 15 or 20 students get quarantined with them, and people start thinking we had 15 or 20 students test positive. The number of students that Lawton Public Schools have had test positive since school started is extremely low. Knock on wood, we sure don't want to jinx ourselves because this is a very serious time, but I really feel good. Our students and teachers in walking around have done a great job of social distancing and wearing masks, and we have hand sanitizers everywhere, and I think they're using that a lot to keep for safety, and so we're going to knock on wood and try to keep on keeping on.
And we want to make sure that our parents are informed in our community, our staff, and our teachers. So that's why we decided to do the webpage. Once that's completed, all of our families and stakeholders will get that notification so they can keep track with that as well.
Yeah, and the important thing for everyone to understand is if you were in direct contact with somebody who tested positive, the health department and our nurses in conjunction with the health department are contacting you as our staff members and our students and their families. So we're doing a lot of social tracing. I think some of the misinformation gets, you hear somebody who got quarantined and no one told you or you didn't get that information. Well, if you're third-party contact, no one is informing you. And I think that'll become the norm, but we are trying to keep our staff and students safe. So we're going to work really hard to share information. Again, we're trying to be transparent. We started this podcast to be transparent. We want to keep you up to date. We're not trying to hide anything from the public.
Right, and speaking of keeping our staff and students safe, we are working with the State Department, Health and Education to provide COVID testing.
Yes, Governor Stitt, one of his things he provided in some of the CARES Act money he got, was it included the money for teachers to be tested once a month across the state. So if you're a staff member of a school, you can get tested once a month. They're going to go around and let you get tested, and so that's a personal decision. We're not requiring it. Everyone in the administration office up here at Shoemaker, we got tested early in the year, and we felt I think it relieves some of the tension you have. So hopefully we continue and we don't have any positives, and we keep operating school face-to-face to keep in a safe manner.
And speaking of the safe manner, our virtual families, they're also partaking in events and activities that relate back to the school. We have some school photos that are getting ready to start, and our virtual meals. Do you want to share anything about that?
Well, this summer, last year when we were out of school, they passed where you could get every child got to eat free. Also, they made it where you could pick up 10 meals at a time on Monday. So once again, they've doubled down on that. So now the federal government has basically made it where we can feed everyone and feed them free for lunch and breakfast. So that's an awesome thing. So if you're virtual, there will be pickup sites. I think they're using Adams as one of the sites because Adams does not have students, so they're created a cafeteria there. But you'll be able to pick up 10 meals. We're actually going to try to partner some of that with Feed the Children and different other organizations that provide food for needy families so that you could possibly pick up food in one spot one day and pick up food for children. Because, again, we want everyone to eat.
And we're speaking of the meals, but I know families have called and reached out to us about, do I still need to fill out that free and reduced lunch application? Can you share why that's important for our district?
Well, tied to that application is state aid and federal aid, as well as, because low socioeconomic is people who qualify on that application. Again, there's numerous ways to put it in there. It asks for your income in numerous different ways. Most people say you don't have to include overtime and things like that. So if you qualify for free and reduced, we get more state aid. We're eligible for more grants, and even federal money, and different things are tied to that. So yes, we still need to collect a form from every student, although every student gets to eat free.
Is there anything that, because we're going to talk about some celebrations, I know we talk a lot about COVID, but we do want to share some celebrations with our public and community. Are there any rumors that you want to kind of talk about? And
probably the biggest thing since we started school, it's probably a result of, one thing we did when we started school, we're trying to get a Chromebook in the hands of all of our students, 3rd through 12th grade, and an iPad in the traditional setting. So in starting that, we had our teachers teach in the classrooms the first few weeks. And again, we're still in that window, like it was virtual. One thing, this would improve the teacher's ability to teach virtually. It would also improve the students' ability and that whole relationship. In case something happened, we have no intentions of going all virtual if we can keep from it. I mean, again, it would be a safety reason if we did. And then I've heard other rumors that, hey, they're going to do away with the night virtual, or they're going to do it today. Hey, we have preached flexibility all along. We feel like our parents have taken advantage of our options. And the other thing, we really are confident that our teachers are getting really good at some of these alternative options we provided for parents. So parents, keep working with us. If you're out there and you're not taking advantage of one of those for whatever reason, I suggest you enroll and get into the night virtual or the day virtual. Obviously, we still have a firm belief that face-to-face is best for most students, but not all students. And we want to make sure we provide that option for those students that face-to-face is not their best option.
And I encourage our families, if they hear anything that they're just not quite sure about, to reach out to us, because that's what we're here for, to help them, to serve them, and to give them the right information.
And that's probably been our biggest reason for doing the podcast and continuing with it, because we want to make sure the rumors, that we're answering those rumors, because not knowing is difficult for all of us in this time. We know that we struggle with situations, and I've had a lot of people talk to me and even send me emails that they're praying for me and such, and that's uplifting to me. And this is my job, but still parents struggle. They got to decide whether to send their kid to school or not. People go to work or not go to work. So everybody out there, they're having to make tough decisions. So we want to try to be as flexible as we can, but we also want to make sure we're providing you as much factual information as we can so you can best make those decisions that best fit your needs.
I did have a question from a parent just trying to understand the attendance. If their kid is a traditional student but doesn't feel well, how does that look? Is that an absence? Do you want to clarify some of that?
Well, in our new, and it's kind of interesting, but because when you include the virtual, because we are virtual or traditional, we really have two types. But what we've done is, because we've created our attendance policy that matches our virtual attendance policy, where if you're not at school but you do log on and do the work, you're not counted absent, because we don't count virtual students absent when they're not at school if they log on and do the work. And the reasoning behind that is, I'm encouraging you as a parent, because you have daughters that go to our school, that if they don't feel good, we want you to keep them home. And we don't want you to feel threatened that they're absent. So now, if your daughter wakes up and they don't feel good, or any child in our district, and the parent decides to keep them on, they can log on, do their work, and they're not counted absent. And the goal is to keep everything aligned and running, side by side. Very, very encouraging. Talking to some of our district leaders that visit various schools, that they'll go in a 3rd grade classroom in one building and then move to a 3rd grade building in another classroom, and it's the same exact material being taught. Now, it's delivered in a different way. We've always said our teachers have the flexibility to deliver it as they choose. We don't want to get into the how it's taught. But what we're teaching is very consistent across the district right now, and that really improves our ability to be flexible, because people become interchangeable as to what role or what option they choose at that time.
And just to clarify for our families, if you do decide to keep your student home, we do ask that you call the school to let them know, because if you don't, then you'll get an attendance call.
Yes, and that is, we still do the attendance call. So just because you got an attendance call doesn't necessarily mean your student will be counted absent. If you call in, then you shouldn't get the call. Although, with 13,000 students, 8,000 traditional, there's going to be some hiccups in there. But just because if you get the call doesn't mean you're not going to be counted absent. Still have your student log on and do that work, because again, our goal is to be flexible in traditional and be flexible in our virtual. We're learning some things in virtual that's going to make us better as traditional teachers, and the same that the traditional some of the things we're doing right now in traditional make us virtually. I don't know that we'll ever go back where we don't have a virtual option for our parents, because we got some teachers doing a tremendous job virtually that some of our parents will take advantage of probably for years to come. That's not to say, we've had this discussion. I've been out in the buildings and walked around, and it's one thing I try to do is get in as many sites as I can and not get locked in my office. But I've seen some teachers in the buildings. I'm very impressed with the quality of the teachers at Lawton Public Schools. This is kind of I came in last year, I moved here, I got in a couple buildings early on because I got hired at the first of the year, and I started coming. But, we all got shut down, so I didn't get to make those site visits that I really enjoy, because I never want to be overly separated from the students and the teachers. So I have seen some tremendous teachers, and I've seen some flexibility. And so I'm very excited for what's coming for Lawton Public Schools.
And some of the work, I visited some sites too, and the creativity by our students that are virtual and in the classroom. It's just amazing to see the engagement that's happening right now.
It is. It's awesome, and I'm impressed, to see the ones, again, the traditional students. Sometimes when you take things away from people, they value it more. And I think even our students are valuing school more. Again, not having any trouble with kids wearing masks. I'm not hearing any issues with teachers struggling to get their students to wear a mask. The virtual, for the most part, our parents are making those contacts. Some of us, we work really hard to make contact with you as a parent. But I'm just excited in the way things are going.
Let's keep the excitement going. Let's talk about some celebrations going on in the district. Concurrent enrollment.
Yeah, we were talking about that today. We're up to about 700 hours that students are taking. Various school districts taking it. Our goal is to get about 100 students from each site. Concurrent enrollment is free for juniors and seniors that qualify. Again, the state gives waivers for tuition waivers. Students still have fees through a generous donation by the school foundation, the Lawton Public School Foundation. They're helping pay for those fees, and we have some other donors lining up. We hope that money runs out fast because we have so many students taking college hours. Also, our career tech numbers are up, and we hope to continue that. Our ultimate goal is, a student in high school that's a junior or senior needs to be in career tech, concurrent. AP classes are just as important. We do those, ROTC or a combination of those, but they need to be in one of those four areas that we know they're picking a career path, and a combination is probably the best result, because you can take AP and concurrent. You could, I know of people who take AP and career tech. So there's a lot of different options there. But again, we want to create that flexibility. But having students, there are high schools across the nation where high school students graduate with associate's degrees in college. And that may not be the best thing for every student, but when you have students who don't come from families of college, I was the first person in my family to go to college. And those hours would have helped a lot, because you get used to college, you understand it, and you're not around people in that expectation. You get that expectation that I am going to go to college.
Well, and I'm just excited because our students have the opportunity to go to college free.
Yes.
Right now, free,
yes.
Period.
And books.
And
we're buying the books
that's
through our
right.
library and checking them out, and we're working to secure the books for them, because, we look at it like, if you're in traditional school, we're buying textbooks. So if you're in concurrent, we're gonna work to supply the textbooks, and we're gonna really encourage the universities to use the same textbook. You always remember when we were in college, they changed the textbooks every semester. It seems like you always bought a textbook, and then when you got to sell it back, nope, they're not using it.
That's right.
We all know that story, but our hope is that we can encourage them to keep using the same textbooks so that we can use them for 2 or 3 cycles. But again, our goal is to knock down barriers and try to make the best possible situation for students and individualize it. You've heard me say this before, and I may have said it in a podcast. My ultimate goal is I'm going to do everything for your child I can to give them the best educational situation possible for them, as long as it doesn't adversely affect another student.
And I'm excited to see where our kids go from there, because it's really encouraging to watch. Now let's talk about our staff. We have some really phenomenal staff members out there, and we have some that have been waiting since March. We usually do our Teacher of the Year celebration. Do you want to share what we're going to do for them?
Yeah, that's pretty exciting because last year in March, you chose your Teacher of the Year again. I was actually still a superintendent of another district just coming through and learning, kind of in that transition interim, but you never got to announce it. Could you imagine not knowing and not being announced? So our staff development committee, led by Brenda Hatch, came up with an idea that we'll announce it at the football game on the 18th, which is the Lawton Ike game. Correct. I do believe.
Yes.
And so that'll be exciting to do it with the crowd, and they're going to do it before the game. I think they're guessing somewhere in that 6:30, 6:45 range. A little bit to be worked out there, but that's exciting to know we're going to announce our Teacher of the Year in that kind of a setting, and there'll be a lot of people there. So finally getting that going because it's kind of a little bit, you won Teacher of the Year, and you'll look up and they're going to be announcing next year's, or you're going to get an 8-month reign on the deal. So, again, we're excited always to honor our teachers. There's just so many wonderful teachers in this district that that'll be an exciting time for us.
And we'll do our champions as well, Champions for Children, and our Rookie of the Year too. They'll be nominated. They'll be shared and celebrated as well. So yes. We're gonna have a lot of good things at that pregame.
Yeah, so it'll be a night of celebration for the great educators of Lawton Public Schools. And
for those that can't make it because of the ticket limits that we have in place, we're also going to work on streaming it so that they'll be able to watch it.
Yeah,
later.
Make sure this. Yeah, we'll get with them, and I'm guarantee you they'll put that on for us early. So that'll be exciting.
That's right. Is there anything else you want to share with our families before we end?
Oh, we just are so excited because we obviously know that this era in the flexibility and trying all this could have led to a lot of criticism and the challenges we face, but how the parents and the community have been behind our staff members and worked to help our teachers through these trying times is just amazing to me. I mean, I've just been truly just floored on how awesome this community has been and how supportive everyone's been as we work through this. And, I challenged when we started this virtual that our virtual would be second to none. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of people going to learn from what we're doing virtually. There's a lot of people out there thinking, man, I wish I'd have done that. There are schools out there that don't have flexibility and they're struggling because everybody has to be virtual. But then when they go back to traditional, they're going to make everybody go back to traditional. And again, we're going to try to continue to be flexible and meet your needs as parents and students and our families. So again, we appreciate you and all you've done. We appreciate our staff. Our cooks are doing a great job. Hey, free food, and it's kind of a deal, but we want our students to eat. We were offering that breakfast break between first and second hour for our secondary students, and that's starting to go over really well. So there's a lot of good things going on in Lawton Public Schools. The Ridgecrest makeover looks good. We're having a lot of fun drawing out of school, and we'll draw out another one next Thursday night, and that's a lot of fun to see what schools win. It's amazing now when I tour elementaries, the principals say, I've got a list.
That's right.
Yeah, they all have their list. It's getting a lot easier. They've got the things they want done. But, you guys passed a bond issue. You and I were talking about it in 2014, and a lot of that, I don't think it actually said school makeovers, but it was improving schools, fences, outsides. So there's a lot of money there available, and there may not be enough left to get them all, but we're going to find a way to find the money to get every site a makeover in whatever means it needs, because our students deserve that when they pull up to get out, that they're excited to walk in that building and proud of the building they're going to school. Our teachers deserve that. Our community deserves when they're driving around, and if grandma's in town and they want to go show, if I want to go show my kids the schools or the different sites, I can drive around and show them. Eisenhower Middle School is going to be a showpiece when we finally get it all finished up. But every site ought to be a showpiece. So we're going to work hard to do that.
And our 2017 bond allowed some other upgrades that I'm just excited to see too. So we haven't forgotten about the promises that we've had out there. We are working very hard.
Ron Stevens Stadium, that's going to start any day. They've already bid it out and got bids, and that should start any day. We're excited about that.
Have you seen the tennis courts? What do you think about tennis courts?
Tennis courts are great. That's a special, the McMahon Foundation.
Correct.
That was one of those things when I got here, Dr. Thomas said, hey, they applied for a grant, and when they did it, it wasn't quite enough money. And so, we came up and we found the money to tie to it. And then the great thing was, and this is how community working together, we put out the bid process. And if you saw it in the paper, the city saw the price we got through our bid process. So they called the company and they just came in with our bid, and the city's doing theirs. So not only through the same process of the McMahon Foundation. It just shows how great it is by donating the money for Lawton Public Schools to get started on tennis courts, and us doing it. It's going to the end result's going to be all the tennis courts in the community are going to get resurfaced. So that's a great. Just shows how working together we can all move forward and for the betterment of all of our citizens.
We are Lawton, right?
We are Lawton. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes. Lawton. Thank you guys so much for joining us, Mr. Hime. I always appreciate your time. We will be back again next week to share more.
Thanks everybody for tuning in, because this is my time, and it's been, like I said, one of the hardest things with the COVID is I like to get out and about. I like to be around people, but it's hard to go to football games with this, in the weather. If you want to keep the crowds down, it's harder to get to building and get into the community and be around people, and you got a mask on. And so this is my way to get to know you, or you to get to know me and get to know who your superintendent is. So thanks for joining in and listening. And again, if you got questions or concerns or rumors or whatever, shoot them to info@lawtonps.org, and we'll try to address them next week.
That's right. And we have our Ask LPS forum as well. And you can always follow us on our social media website and our YouTube pages. Until next time, you guys, have a great and wonderful weekend, and we will see you next week.